said one fundamental statement. He said he was very happy that during the tenure of President Kibaki, the hotline never ran. The line that normally the president uses to call. It never ran one day for 4 years. And he was very happy. Who knows? I don't know whether it rings nowadays. Maybe we'll ask the teachers who is there whether it rings or it does not. At least Mutunga said it never ran. Are we together? Because there is absolutely no reason.
Evidence.
Evidence you were there.
What to do. And it is brazen. And it was kind of impunity.
And you do like
Anybody can
when you're
imagine
famous and it's like Queen Carrie.
so that the president can have the right to appoint an ombudsman reporting his duty to supervise the judiciary.
When where are you?
That is the impunity of the worst time. I mean, sure.
Akora kunilenga ati ajikire ngundi.
Too much power.
Nikafungua
Why do you
mkono.
need power over the judiciary? Why do you need power over the legislature? And if anybody is not satisfied with the powers the president has at the moment, it's not necessary for you to run for president. It's not a must. Mwingine ule anaona hiyo powers zinatosha aende afanyie kazi kwa hiyo ofisi. Kama ni aje? So this is what I would say. And let me
Mwanake huyo. Twamiti nake Mombasa ningetoka twamiti huko.
The one I was supposed to come and this one. Let me respond to the issues. I hope I am clear on what I have said. Let me talk on the issues Chairman has spoken. Number one, I agree with you that we need to up our game in terms of the quality of service between our embassies and Kenyans in the diaspora. We certainly need, there is some room there for us to improve on the quality of service that's available to Kenyans in the diaspora, number one. Number two, we cannot have an economic conversation or a conversation on the economy in Kenya without the diaspora. Because your contribution is about almost 400 billion Kenya shillings that we send to Kenya every year. And that counts for something. And therefore, your issues are legitimate. Number one, we need to assist you so that the resources you send home work for you and work for the country. We must have packages in 3 areas. We need to sort out first the health issues. Once we have clarity on delivery of quality health and we have sorted out the matters of NHI, instead of you guys sending money for this person who is sick and this person who is sick, we will now make it possible for you to pay a reasonable amount and buy insurance for your folks at home. You don't have to be called at night that so and so is sick. If you are paying 1,000 shillings or 500 shillings per month to get insurance for your mom or your brother or your cousin, you know that once you are paid that 1,000 shillings, Kenya shillings a month, nobody will call you because they will have a functioning health insurance, and as and when it is required, the insurance coverage will sort out their bills. That is one way we can assist you so that you have predictable mechanisms of how you can support your folks at home without necessarily being, pushed left, right, and center. That's number one. Number two, many of you send money home to build this house and that house, and we all know the stories. That somebody is taking pictures of somebody else building whatever it is they are building, or they are building their own house and they are taking pictures and telling you it is your house, and you end up knowing that that was all a story. In our housing program, it will be possible for you to buy a flat or a house in Kenya, like all other Kenyans, which nobody is going to cheat you, you know? You will not be involved in buying cement and buying this and the other, and then somebody. So you can actually buy a property, and we can make it possible for the diaspora to specifically, because of the contribution you make, to specifically have a quota for the diaspora people to buy property. And if there are some concessions to be made, which we can then agree on, then it will be on such packages. That if you buy a house, you will get this kind of rebate, or you will get this kind of discount or something like that. Are we together? Or waiver or something. Are we together? Clear packages so that you can buy real estate without struggling with your cousin or somebody who is telling you, cement has gone up, I don't know, the food did work, and the other story went the other way. Are we together?
Yeah.
Number three. Today in Kenya, 50% of our borrowing is local borrowing. That local borrowing today is actually the biggest beneficiaries are Kenyan banks. In fact, almost 80%, maybe even 90% of borrowing by government, we are borrowing from banks. And banks are making billions of shillings. We tried to reorganize so that ordinary people can borrow, can actually lend to government. Because government is paying 7, 8, 9%. You know? Yet if you go and deposit money in the bank, they will give you 1%. But they are lending it to us as government at 9%. You understand? Same Kenyans in Kenya, when you go and deposit money in the bank, they will give you 1%, maybe 2 if you're lucky. But they are lending it to government at 8%. We try to organize so that even ordinary people can lend 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 to government using government bonds. But the banks frustrated because they brought a lot of money. We will now make it possible for you guys in diaspora, instead of keeping your money in the bank here and earning negative interest, we can give you 7% interest at home. By having a diaspora bond where you guys can put in your money. You will, number one, assist us with money to run our development program, but you will also benefit by paying you the interest that we are paying banks. We are paying banks, why don't we pay hardworking people like yourself and other ordinary Kenyans at home? Do you understand? That's the third issue I wanted to say. The fourth issue is what I said about social security fund. You too can contribute your retirement package to Kenya. As we increase the 200 shillings we are paying to a percentage of our salary, you too can benefit in that. So that even as you work hard here, when time is up, you can go back home to a retirement package that gives you a living income as you grow old. So that can also be worked on. The fifth issue is the issue of you people participating in voting. If there is one right that you cannot give away, is the right to vote. Because you decide how your taxes are used, decide whether your children go to school or not, whether there is medicine in your hospital or not. So it is a fundamental right. And the opportunity to participate in elections is a very critical opportunity. That's why we've been pushing the IEBC to make sure that Kenyans in the diaspora have an opportunity to vote. We started 5 years ago with a few, with I think 5 countries. Now we've gone to 12, including the UK. So for the very first time, although there are only 700 people, they will have an opportunity to vote. I, however, agree with you that the interpretation that IEBC gave to the law was the wrong interpretation. Because the law said that Kenyans in every country where we have a mission will have an opportunity to vote. But the IEBC narrowed it to say in every country where they reduced it to the embassy and consulate only. You know, it cannot be like that. It means if we have an embassy in the UK, then it must be made possible for everybody in the UK to vote. You know? Just at the embassy or at the High Commission. It cannot. That's a very narrow interpretation of the law. So again, I think policymakers who are here, the members of parliament here, so Ipan is here, Adagada is here. You people must take up this challenge, and we see how we can work with IEBC to make sure that I know they will come up with resources and things like those, but those are things that can be worked on so that we can give opportunity for Kenyans in the diaspora to vote. On matters to do with whether we can appoint somebody from or nominate somebody from the diaspora into the Senate or National Assembly, a very positive, idea. And for your information, we already have people who are members of diaspora already nominated. In fact, I remember we nominated a lady called Falhada, who was actually, in fact, her children are still here. And I think I even met the sister here. Your sister of Falhada, by the way, the Ule Panda. You know that one. So, is a member of the Senate. And we nominated her, and she has been pushing to the extent that she can the diaspora agenda. But maybe we need to contextualize it better so that whether it is Falhada or the next person can actually find a way of making sure that, the problem is that Parliament is in Kenya. So, and when somebody lives here, and then I think they stop being diaspora or something. even in that parliament, for your information, the members of the diaspora, I think maybe 10 or 20% of parliament is made of people from diaspora. All these people. Susan Kiyita was in the US for 20 years. She's now a member of the Senate. So Ivan here was in the US. Owen Baya here was in the US. Today they are members of parliament in Kenya. But they are not prosecuting the diaspora agenda. So, so maybe they are giving it, maybe, I don't know. Kitumba Murkomen there is a member of the diaspora. He was in the US for donkey years. So, I don't know. We need to rethink the whole of that space so that we can structure it better and drive the diaspora agenda properly. There is the suggestion that we have a caucus. There is even the suggestion we have a committee, like all the other committees in Parliament. We actually have a specific committee. I think it was actually that recommendation was made by Chuma Parliament, that we have a specific committee that discusses matters to do with diaspora in Parliament. I think that's another, but you know, we are having a very healthy conversation. I mean, it's just people are now beginning to think of ideas on how we can bring the diaspora agenda into the mix, right? And we need to have that conversation. I hear you when you say maybe even we can nominate people under the category of minorities. You can't qualify to be minorities. You are about 3 million. Minorities are like, okay, they're like 500 people. we need to rethink of, you know, how do we maybe we just have a commander of sorts. So I think this is the conversation we need to have, and we need to have a back and forth so that we can have a middle ground and see how best do we take it forward. And I think there are leaders here who are listening, and we will all share our thoughts. And what you're doing, you're also provoking us to think, you know, which is a very positive thing. And finally, matters to do with citizenship. First, I know many people, in fact that's what we were being told in the US, many people are traveling 8 hours to go and renew their passport. I think in the era of ICT, surely we can renew a passport much more easily without really having to travel all this way. Either, even if we need fingerprints, we can have a mobile kit, you know, which can go around every second week. It is in Newcastle, every, is in the other place, so that we can make it that much more easy for citizens in the diaspora to access services instead of them having to travel long hours to be able to access them. So again, we need to have a conversation there about delivery of consular services by our embassies and leveraging on ICT to a good extent so that we can get most of those services online and we can be able to make it much more efficient. I think those are the issues. On the issue of what was that issue? Citizenship in terms of dual citizenship is also already guaranteed by the Constitution. The only problem is that I think there are restrictions on being a state officer. And there were arguments, when we went through the process in Bomas, there were very serious arguments that went into the constitution making. It will require a constitutional amendment for us to reverse that. And it is a very slippery road, because if we go the direction of changing the constitution, it's quite a long shot. And ordinary Kenyans are the majority. They will say, those people who are already enjoying themselves in Europe, why do they want to come and crowd us out of this? They will, the ordinary argument, in Kenya, they will not understand. They will say, what is wrong? Kama huyu mtu ameenda na anaona mambo yake ni mzuri huko, siawache sisi pande hii. So anyway, but it's a discussion we can have. Sindio? again, I think those are the issues. Let me not exhaust. We have very capable leaders here. I also want them to speak to us briefly. And if there is anything, good people, that I haven't responded to, everybody can respond, including matters to do with NEC. Maybe Alice can respond and other people. So again, let me say how grateful I am. Thank you very much for welcoming us to London. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for all the time you have taken to listen to me. I know you're busy people and have taken a while. And it's just because I thought it was necessary for us to be at the same level. I will answer one or two questions if need be, but before, let me see whether some of those questions can be answered by my colleagues who are here. I will start again with the Kimani Shungwa.
Asante sana Your Excellency. Watu wa UK hamjambo? Nilisikia harambe. Muko kwa network? Asante sana. I think I'll try and be very brief. Let me just maybe begin with attempting to answer one of the questions or one of the issues that were of concern. And just to reiterate what His Excellency has said, that indeed the debt burden that our country bears today is one of the areas that people in the diaspora, by investing back home, you can help our country to deal with, be it in NSSF or even in what His Excellency proposes a diaspora bond. The Euro bond that you hear about, and you hear the CES Finance has come on a Euro tour, a roadshow for the Euro bond, is basically money that is borrowed from the money you're investing in pension funds here. Therefore, it's possible for you to invest in pension funds back home, and we are able to access that money from our domestic market, and we stop government from crowding out the private sector from the domestic market, and therefore we are able to grow our economy better. I think that His Excellency has said that it is simple solutions to what seem to be very complex problems. And maybe you are there asking yourself, why is it then that he has been Deputy President for 9 years and he has not been able to offer those simple solutions besides the ones he has mentioned? And always my answer has been simple, that it is out of sheer incompetence in the highest level of leadership in our country, sheer incompetence, laden with state capture, and of course, overridden by political pettiness. It is political pettiness that when Kenyans are looking at investment opportunities, you shut down an industry that is employing over 5,000 people in Thika out of political pettiness. It is political pettiness and state capture when you see an industry built from the sweat of a hustling Kenyan family, Tabitha Karanja's Keroche company in Naivasha. Today is being shut down because you want to bring a Danish company to come and brew beer in a private farm in Naivasha. That is state capture. It is that state capture, political pettiness, and sheer incompetence, and the lack of leaders that will make those simple, bold decisions. I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, here, we have a leader in Kenya Kwanza with a team that is ready and bold enough to make those very simple decisions to move our country forward. Mimi nitawaomba tu tushirikiane, muendelee kutuombea tukiuziwa uoga ama tukikuwa bure tusinunue na tusichukue hata ya bure, si ndio?
Ongea maneno ya mashamba ya Bombao.
Hiyo mashamba wacha tuongee siku nyingine, sababu nasikia hata hapa waligawiwa manyumba sijui na mashamba hapa na wenye waliwapea mashamba yetu huko Kenya, si ni kweli? Lakini wacha nikomee hapo, niwaambie tunawapenda sana, na tafadhali all those who are registered as voters, vote for William Ruto and Kenya Kwanza. Do what I have to do in the US as they are doing. In your contribution, just from where you are, talk to as many Kenyans as you can talk to back home to be able to support this team to move our country forward. Kwa hayo mengi, Mungu awabariki.
So we come here, a member from Narok.
Good evening, brothers and sisters. I'm really happy to be here, and it's very interesting, the power of the village. To see Arungu wielding Masai in London. Thank you, Your Excellency. I think you've said a lot that we could all say, but I just want to tell our brothers here that I don't think there could be any bigger demonstration of commitment from a presidential candidate like we see here with our deputy president. You know what is going on at home, and if this was not important, he could not be here. So that this is a true demonstration that the things we are talking about here are dear to the heart of Kenya Kwanza. Your Excellency, I would suggest that you know the exercise that is going on back home, where we are working on charters for different regions in the country, the coastal region, western region, you know, Rift Valley. We really must have a charter for the diaspora. With you know, measurable actions that will actually be realized once you get into power. That is when, not if, when you're there. So I think that should be a challenge to the diaspora leadership, that we begin that process to concretize some of the things we are talking about here for actualization. You know, Your Excellency, the housing idea, or the one that was derailed by the handshake and all these other sideshows, these are the investors, yeah, who would come back home, you know. And I just want to say to you, our brothers here, that nothing takes away your rights just because you have chosen to move to another country to do your thing. Your political rights are intact, your social rights are intact, economic rights intact. And I think that is the assurance that we are getting here today from His Excellency, the Deputy President. So I will not take much more time, but just to say, for us, the members of Parliament, both Senate and National Assembly, some of these things, and as I say, you know, your rights in Article 37, 38 of the Constitution, you need to actualize, and it's a challenge to you people that, you know, take your space to participate in the ongoings of Parliament. Bring your petitions with issues that must be addressed, because you are Kenyans and your rights are intact and no one should interfere with them. And we are here, you know, with the talk of a diaspora committee, a diaspora ministry. These are things that will be actualized. So in the interest of time, thank you very much. Tupeleke salamu nyumbani. Asanteni. Mimi natoka Narok. Mubarikiwe sana. Asante.
Let me ask Beatrice Adagala, all the way from Kihiga.
Thank you, Your Excellency, and the people of the diaspora. Nusu ya kuonana, situsalamiane. Bwana Yesu nasifiwe. Hebu nione wale wanasema kura tarehe 9 mwezi wa 8 ni ya Kenya kwanza. Mko tayari? Thank you, Bwana Excellency, Your Excellency. You can see we have sure votes here in the diaspora. For those who may not know me, I'm Adagala Beatrice, woman MP Vihiga County, and I'm delighted to be here. And I've seen we have strong votes in the diaspora. We are sure these are our votes, Your Excellency, and your concerns have been taken carefully and clearly. And if you want to know a government that is valuing women, it is this government of Kenya Kwanza. If you want to know a government that is valuing youth and people living with disability, it is this government that you are going to install in August. And we want to assure you, as Kenyans living in the diaspora, your concerns will be handled and will be worked on very much with the people who are alert, sound mind, and not the Mugabe who is always asleep when issues are being discussed. So rest assured, in this coming government, we have very young minds, strong women and men who are ready to steer the nation of Kenya to a better level. There have been concerns here. Money goes to Kenya, you remit a lot of money. With no proper structures, with no proper plans, you know everything goes to drain. And that's why Kenyans are always crying of Furuliza. With this new coming government, the question of Furuliza will no longer be there. The economy is going to grow to a level that Kenya has never experienced before. And we are very certain it is going to happen. The issue of bills, Fululiza have talked about it. Bills, paying bills in your home areas. With this coming government, the issue of health care will be taken care of and all will be well. I feel like I'm a preacher, man. I feel like preaching it. I feel like saying hallelujah. Na mbarikiwe sana. Nipeleke salamu nyumbani. I'm very happy nimepata watu wangu wa Vihiga hapa. Na nyinyi mkuu kule nyumbani mpige simu mseme mama arudi tano tena.
The other man is called Owen Baya, MP from Kilifi North.
Yes, thank you very much, Your Excellency. My name, like you heard, is Owen Baya, MP for Kilifi North, and mimi pia nimeishi huku. And I know what hustling is in this country. Nyinyi, you are the best example of hustlers. I know I lived in Germany for some time, and I know guys who do 4 jobs. Wanahapa nyumba masaa mawili, hiyo masaa ingine yote ni kazi. Na hiyo pesa yote, almost a quarter, 3/4 of it anapeleka nyumbani. Na kama kule nyumbani mambo ni mbaya, hata yeye mambo yake ni mbaya. That's why it is your duty to ensure that we put a government in the country that is responsible, that works, and that brings the economy up. It is your duty, so that the hard work that you put in here to make the money, ikifika kule nyumbani, it has value. So that we have policies that protect the people that you love, because wale ndio wapendwa wenu, and that's why you are here. So also it is your responsibility to also tell them how to vote kule nyumbani, so that we put a government that really has the heart of the people of Kenya at the center of it. But more importantly, I also want to say that as you stay here and as you work here, also invest back home. I know there is the north of Malindi, there's something that is coming up at Diaspora City, where members from the diaspora are contributing money and establishing a city there. That's a huge economic investment. I've talked to the chairman and he keeps on talking to me about how we should help them get the land, secure the land and all that. Don't be left out. The chairman lives in Ohio, something like that. It's also important that we be part of it. There's even another city in Kikambala that is also being done by people from the diaspora. I attended the groundbreaking of that city. It is being done by people from the diaspora. There's a lot of investment that are going on. And if you feel that ukipeleka ndugu yako pesa, hiyo nyumba itajengwa kwa hewa, you can actually join these other schemes so that you can actually develop the country. Not just pesa ya kupeleka watu hospitali peke yake, but ukipeleka hiyo nyumba ikijenga huko, you employ 5-6 people who are building and constructing the house. You actually contributing to the GDP and growth of that country. But I also want to add something that the Deputy President said. I think in our plan, we are moving from just building infrastructure to productivity. I think if you listen to him carefully, you saw that he's actually moving towards a more productive economy. Productivity in terms of agriculture, productivity in terms of growing the economy of the country. And that's what you also need to invest in. Because he's saying, let's look at a cow that produces more than 15 liters. So what are you doing about it? He's saying, let's look at coffee bush that is producing more than 20 kilos. What are we doing about it in terms of investment as diaspora so that we can actually not just tap in, but also help him in his plan to grow the economy and increase productivity in the country. And thank you, I wish you all the best. God bless you. And ikifika tarehe 9 mwezi wa 8 mpige ile kura. Sasa kama tunaingia State House tunaingia wote. Asanteni sana. Alice Wahome.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We shouldn't really be speaking because you started and you've done a very, very major contribution in terms of your participation today. You've covered broadly all the issues, many issues, maybe not all, but many issues. But and you know, Your Excellency, within the legal fraternity, there is many times where you will say when the subject has been fully covered, I have not been useful to add. but for purposes of remaining relevant and consistent, because these people know me as somebody who has something to say, I want to just add on the question of this guy here seated here, speaking that he has a plan. And he says his team and himself, they have a plan. Meaning you are now part of the team. Don't see yourself as outside the team and the plan. It is your contributions that will make this plan work and carry on board those beautiful ideas that you have. And therefore I want to encourage even written memorandums, because tonight may not be exhaustive enough. He has been called names. He has been given big chambers everywhere in the country. They speak of Weston, you have heard of those. They have smeared his character in very demeaning manner. But you know what? The spirit and the method remains the same every day. And therefore, we also need to encourage His Excellency, because he's the bearer of our dream. Those people are no longer the bearers of our dreams. And I want to say that I'm part of that dream. And we have heard you talking about legislative interventions, policy interventions, administrative interventions as members of parliament. There is a role that we can play. But I can tell you, between now and elections, nothing much can happen. these people have designed to work on BBIs, even now they are waiting for something possibly to come from the Supreme Court. But if we are determined the way we are, that is a sideshow as far as we are concerned. So I want to say that William Ruto is the president that we are looking for ourselves. The other thing I want to say is that the chairman raised the question of the NEC participating in the party affairs, party organs. None of us here, when you are a candidate or an aspirant, you cannot be according to our constitution, you can't hold an office. And we haven't done any elections because, UDA is less than a year old. I think now we are going to our 10th month. And we shall be doing our elections. You are in touch with our SG. She's very effective, and our secretariat. So I want to urge you to follow up on the activities of the party. After the general elections, we will be going into grassroots elections because, if you look at our constitution, the party structures start at the polling station. Maybe we will think of how to have a polling stations in diaspora, because if we are voting here, then we need to have those structures of the party right from here. So there will be time to participate in those other activities. There is also diaspora provisions in our constitution. Take advantage of that, read through and see how you can participate in the party issues. May I say that the dream may have been interfered with, but we have not lost hope. You have heard these people trying to imagine that Mount Kenya vote is going to be taken to a market by one individual. And you know who is that individual. So si lazima tumtaje. We have said no. The vote of the individual will be cast by the individual. We have done sufficient support to the individual, that person, 10 years. We are now looking forward for another 10 years. And the Mlima vote will definitely make history, go down in history as that vote that decided that Hatupa will be. I don't want to say more than that. Your Excellency, thank you very much for even making it here. These people, I have been here before mobilizing for some other party a long time ago. I was trying to see whether I can see the old networks, but and I hope that you carry on. Sometimes you could start a good thing and then not carry it forward. Ensure that the structure and the UDA family and the Kenyan family is strong. Thank you.
Let me ask Susan Kuhika, the Senator of Nakuru.
Thank you. Asante, Your Excellency. I know you told me to talk like that, but ulinikosea kidogo. Ulisema nimekaa Amerika miaka 20. Na mimi I'm trying to look like a 28-year-old. So anyway, I'm very, very delighted to be here tonight. And even for us ladies both, Anyway. No, I'm teasing. Good evening. I'm very delighted to be here tonight. Actually, back in 92, how old is that? How long ago is that? Ooh, okay. I was in London. I started out schooling in London before I moved. Oh my gosh, that's worse, boss. I messed up, but I was never good in math. So I know from where you're sitting, I get it. I then went over there across to the US and continued my many years. So very briefly, because I know we don't have time, mine I'll speak a bit more, Chairman, more specifically on my experience a bit. Janet, you're my friend on Facebook. Former Mayor Kikipua na wewe US some time back. So when I look in here, Kaniaru, back there in Joro, I know. So anyway, when I look in the room, I know so many of you, and I just wanted to say that for myself, my journey has been a bit different kidogo, but I wanted to talk to you, to talk to that because of you, Chairman. I also one day woke up and decided that I wanted to go back to Kenya and take a dive into this difficult, crazy field of politics. Let me call it that way because it's a bit difficult. And at the time, the reason that I decided to go back when I went back is because the new constitution had just come into place, and I felt that maybe there was better room even for women, so to speak. So I left my law practice then, and I decided to hop on a plane about 14,000 kilometers back to Kenya with my 2 little girls and go figure this thing out. So talking to you about maybe perhaps sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith. And initially also, I didn't get it, because I went, and I always tell people, sometimes it's nice to be ignorant. I know that sounds crazy, because if I knew what I know now, I probably would not have been brave enough to even try and do it. Because I went there, and it was 6 months to the elections. Can you imagine? Like, you can't be here if it's 6 months to the elections. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but it's just going to be difficult. Because people start campaigning many years before, unfortunately. You know, it's just the truth. So if you're seeking a seat in these elections, you need to be home. You need to be in the ground. You need to be in the villages. I would go to some places, because then I had decided to run for a seat in Bahati. And Bahati borders, and I'm talking very fast, boss, Bahati borders Nakuru Town East constituency. And I would go in and I would talk and I would tell them what I'll do, and then I finish and I get out and somebody, and you do what you're supposed to do. Unaelewa hapo? Kandia kwa you. And then nikitoka hapo nasikia mtu ananiambia hapo hata haikuwa Bahati. Hiyo ilikuwa Nakuru Town East. Because I've been gone from Kenya about over 20 years, yeah? So, and I look back, and honestly, and in all honesty, and no offense guys, I look back and I'm like, honestly, I should not have been a choice. Because I know I went to one meeting and they're like, so what are you going to do? And then I was telling them about this community policing, and everybody's looking at me like, what? You know, like, I just, yeah, I just didn't get it, yeah? So, but saying all that to say, then I didn't make it. I did not make it. I had spent all the money that had come with. I had my 2 girls looking at me and asking me, why would you bring us here when you told us that your dad took you to America so you can study, but you have taken away that opportunity for us and you have brought us here and now you are done. So I put my furniture on, there's a diaspora, like expatriate website where you can sell your sofas. I took pictures, I put my pictures back up there, and I was like, I hadn't closed my law practice. By the way, I had a very lucrative immigration law practice, big corner office. So sometimes it's the comfort that we must decide to leave. You know, sometimes it's hard to leave when you're comfortable. So I decided I'm gonna sell my chairs, get tickets for the 3 of us, me and my 2 girls, and we are gonna get out of here. And then I saw a newspaper thing that a Sunday, like a week to go, and it was saying I was seeing speakers for different counties, assemblies, and they all seemed to be lawyers. And because my background was in law, I was like, why not try? But I was a bit also scared, because I was like, now if you fail twice, it kind of kills your morale. Yeah, but I decided, why not try? Even if I fail, now I know, I close the Kenya chapter, I can decide now go become an American, you know? But anyway, it worked out. I ended up making speaker, ended up becoming a senator 5 years later, and His Excellency, who is a great supporter of the female gender too. Can we just have a clap for him? Because of him, and I'll say it out here today, because of him, I'm not even looking at him, I became the chief whip of the Senate of Kenya. But obviously, unceremoniously, and by the way, the point of divergence, the reason we are here and not where we should have been. On a very practical example, the Prime Minister of the UK is Boris Johnson, right? Can you imagine Boris Johnson campaigning day and night for the party leader of Labour, the leader of opposition? Is that even possible? Can you even see that in anywhere? Has that ever been done anywhere? So when I stand there and I say I will not do this nonsense, I will not support who you are telling us to support, because I did not carry my kids across the seas and come all this way to come and leave my brain behind. Yeah? So we stand for something, and finally, we stand for something. And that is why we are here. You have heard our party leader, our candidate for president. You have heard the vision that he has for Kenya. He didn't come here and just tell you Tibim Tialala. Yeah? He told you what he's going to do once he sits there. I don't know how many of you saw as I sit an ad that was placed by Hillary Clinton when she was running for president. And it had a red phone on it and said, if the phone rings at 3 in the morning, when the children are sleeping and everybody is asleep, and the phone rings at 3 a.m., who do you want picking that phone up in such a difficult world right now? Who is proven, who is tested, who is able to carry on, get in that office, get in those shoes, and immediately be able to get Kenya to the next place? He is right here. So, in conclusion, I ask you, and I've heard what you have said about the diaspora issues, which I totally understand. And especially on the dual citizenship, yes, because there was that issue of maybe perhaps your allegiance may not be to Kenya, perhaps, or maybe there is inherent conflict of interest, perhaps.